Signal, the podcast that raises your frequency. I'm Mory Fontanez, intuition coach.
And I'm Melissa Gushka.
This is our final week of spooky season. Bean, are you ready?
Super ready.
Let's go.
So ready.
Bean.
Reen.
It's Halloween week. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. And we have the cutest little guest ever.
The best guest ever is joining us. Okay, let me tell you what's going on this week. So we've been building up to the final week of spooky season, and I don't even know what we're going to do with ourselves after this point, but we are deciding to end things with a bang and spend this episode telling the most scary haunting stories that we could find. And we thought, who better to come tell us a haunting story than our wonderful producer, Anais, who loves spooky season as much as we do. So Anais is joining us this episode to regale us with a tale of a haunting. Anais, welcome to Signal.
Welcome.
Yay! I'm already terrified because I do not think my story is that scary.
You're terrified.
Oh, no.
Because it's spooky season. That's why you're terrified.
Oh, right.
I built it up too much. Kana, you know how this works. Oh, I call her Kana. So if I say that, that's what that is. You know how this works because you're always behind the scenes producing this podcast. Thank you for that. Now you're here and you have to tell us a cringe or delight. And since you're a guest, you get to go first. So how was your week? Anything cringy, anything delightful? Go.
I'd also like for you to share for our listeners what costume you're wearing.
Ooh, oh, right. I am dressed as Lydia from Beetlejuice today during her wedding phase.
Mm-hmm.
I almost cut my bangs, but
honestly, you should have committed to the role a little more, like I did.
Savage, Bean.
Maybe I will for the actual Halloween day.
That's a good
but we'll
one.
See. Okay, my cringe or delight. I think my cringe was how hard it was to be in your role for this week. I feel like I show up every week and I'm like, wow, their lives are so easy. They just have the fun part. And we've been talking about this for like a month now. And of course I waited until this week to really solidify my ideas. And it's harder than you would imagine to find stories and get facts and make sure they're straight and not lie on the podcast. So
wow.
And be engaging on top of that. So good luck being
engaging. I have to be engaging?
Yep.
Well, you know what?
It comes naturally.
Thanks for saying that, Anais, because that feels very validating to hear. We feel seen. We feel appreciated. I'm so glad you got to walk a mile in our Halloween shoes.
Yeah, thanks.
I want to say I'd like to share that Bean is dressed up also, but she's just
thank you.
Yeah, but she's just wearing a scarf to be a fortune teller, and honestly, she just looks beautiful like her old self, and she's wearing a beautiful headscarf.
This is unfair, and I knew this was going to happen. All month, you have been dogging me for not dressing up, and I decided I was going to save my costume for the last episode, and I really focused on this. I gave this attention. I really thought about it. I have so many different big jewels on. I have earrings.
Yeah.
I have dramatic eye makeup on, and I knew it. I showed up, and you both were a-holes about it.
Well, you know what? I wanted like King Kong or like a mummy. Like I wanted full coverage. I wanted like something exciting to really wow me.
You need a new best friend.
I guess so. Who likes to dress up, I guess.
No, just like likes to dress up like King Kong. Like she would never.
You're right. Yeah. You're right. I should have known.
Accept me as I am and let's name me. I was trying to think of a name for myself today. Madame.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Crusoe.
Madame Toussaint.
Do you have a wax museum?
So original. Madame Duval.
Oh, very good.
Anyway,
I like that.
Okay, Madame Duval is my costume, and my cringe moment for this week is, again, I scared myself in researching this week's episode. And again, TJ is out of town. And again, I couldn't sleep. And this time, my son came and hung out with me. And we watched a movie. And we both just fell asleep in my bed so that I could feel better. So that is embarrassing. And cringy. You guys are so quiet over there.
I was intrigued. I'm staring at your headscarf. Also, I'll top this off with my delight. I found it is my middle one's birthday this week, and I just
Happy
find
birthday.
joy, somewhat sadness in all of my kids' birthdays, but mostly joy in their joy, in the excitement that still exists in children leading up to their birthday, and they're giddy for days. And she woke up early to go see her presents and her decorations.
What do you mean in children? Mory and I
Anais
still
and I
get
are
this
still
way.
like that.
I forgot.
Anais and I are still like that.
I lost that giddiness a long time ago, but there is there's almost like it's just pure excitement. I feel like at our age there's more expectation and and you're almost always disappointed. But with children, they're just so innocently, beautifully excited, and they like their joy is palpable, and it's their expectations are never let down. They're like, she just was so excited all morning. And then we surprised her at school and read to her class, and they were adorable. And it's just all adorable.
Oh, happy birthday, Lele. I hope she has a great birthday weekend. You guys are going to DC, right?
We are. We're going to celebrate in style.
I love it. I wish I was there.
Same. Big time. Big
We
time.
are going big time. We are going tonight. The boys are coming into town. Our boys
are back in town.
Yep, they're coming into town. TJ's two boys live in the Bay Area. They're coming into town, and we are going to Universal Studios Fright Fest tonight.
Oh my god,
spooky!
You're gonna get scared.
I'm gonna get so scared. There's a Stranger Things experience that I cannot wait to try. So I will come back and tell you guys next week if I survived it. But I'm like I'm nervous and excited. I feel like a kid myself.
I think you're gonna be a lot more scared than you think. They
I
just
agree.
run up at you and like say like in your face.
No, I can't.
Yes,
do
they
that.
do.
I'm sorry.
They say,
But I won't
do
do
they
it.
Touch you?
What are you gonna do? Wear a sign? Don't talk to me.
Yes, I will hide behind TJ. I don't know what to tell you.
Are you going in costume? And by costume, I mean, are you wearing a headscarf?
And big earrings and
whatever.
red lips.
You could be a pirate.
Agreed.
No, I'm a fortune
beautiful
teller.
pirate.
Yeah. A sexy
God,
pirate.
you guys.
Sexy.
Ooh,
I'm a
sexy.
sexy pirate.
You want to know what's cringy is that
Arr.
in an hour I have an actual client session that's very serious, and I have fortune teller makeup on my face. So we better wrap this up
you look
early.
Serious.
You do.
I do. Thank you. I look like I could tell your fortune, right?
Tell them their fortune.
You guys, I'm an intuition coach. Is this not the most appropriate costume I could come up with?
It is.
My goodness.
Pretty good.
Haters gonna hate. All right. Listen, let's do this before we get into regaling each other with real life hauntings. I thought maybe we could just ask each other if we have any personal ghost stories that we can share with each other and the audience. Anyone have anything
I'm
scary?
not gonna lie. The whole reason that you two are spearheading this operation today, and I'm just sort of here to watch, is because I haven't ever encountered anything like that, and I'm very much looking forward to your experiences.
Nothing.
All right.
No, I've
You've never
had
gotten
ghost-
like goosebumps on your back?
Yeah, goosebumps, but probably from being cold or the wind or the
right.
someone tickling. I don't
You
know.
rationalize everything.
Someone tickling?
Yeah, it's hard. It's shitty to be rational.
Do you get goosebumps from getting tickled? Is that what you said? Interesting.
Yeah.
Listen, you're Anais, you're dealing with the most cynical human being on the planet, so it's not that shocking
I'm
that she
not-
doesn't have a
I
ghost
know.
story.
I'm not cynical anymore since I had kids. Now I'm positive Patty. Write that down.
Positive Patty.
Positively
Anyway,
cynical.
This wasn't even trying to be cynical. I was just saying I was really
right.
excited for your stories, and you guys are being such jerks. You know what? This is a threesome, and it's
Whoa.
2 against 1. What?
Oh,
It's 2 against 1, and I don't feel very safe in here anymore.
yeah. Now you know how I feel with my costume and the way you're both bullying me. Anais, on to you.
Am I a bully? Is that what you guys have just defined? Is like
Yes.
I just put people against each other?
If I had to do
Maybe
a Venn
that's what's going
diagram
on.
right now, you would be that little section in the center that bullied
Or-
both of us.
Hear me out. Am
Okay.
I the most likable here? So everyone just likes me and I'm
True.
on all the right sides.
True, and we never bullied you. True. It's an interesting perspective.
Maybe you and I should band together against her.
Who,
Go
me and
for
you?
it.
Or
Yeah.
you two? Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
you
I
and
can't
me.
be alone again. Anyway,
No.
let's get guys. shut
Okay,
up. Let's
let's.
get
Why don't we
focused.
get our act together here and
Stop
Okay,
fighting.
well, so fine. Melissa, you have nothing. Anais, I know you have some good ones. Tell
I
us
have like
anything that's happened to
400.
you.
You
Okay.
do? Tell us the
Pick
best
one, please.
Or the
Pick
second
one.
I will.
This
I'll
is not a
pick one.
5-hour podcast.
I just have to like state that like my whole life is basically one big ghost story. So
Bum, bum,
That's fun.
bum.
We'll start
Dun,
with that.
dun.
Wow, I would like better music for my life story, please.
Okay, wait, let's try that again. And our magical editors will do it. Say your line again.
What was my line?
My whole life has been one ghost story. Go for it.
My whole life has been one big ghost story.
Wow, that was good. Good sound effects.
They got
Good job,
it.
editors.
They always nail it.
They always nail it.
But I was thinking about one in particular that is not too spooky, not too personal, and just right for this show. And I probably like 7 or 8 years ago went on a road trip with my best friend, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. She listens every week.
Hey, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
We love
Biggest
you, Dawn.
fan.
We love you, Dawn.
We love you, Dawn. And we went down to Asheville, North Carolina. We picked up our sister. Yeah, exactly. Our sister and our editor of the show down to Asheville, and then had some spooky experiences there. Literally could not stay in the Airbnb that we were in. None of us slept, except for our editor. Randomly, he slept the entire time peacefully. Like nothing happened. But moving on the rest of our road trip, we headed down to Georgia, and Dawn grew up in Georgia and was showing me exactly just Georgia in itself, spooky, old, lots happened.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
The fortune teller knows.
Exactly.
Like, I remember that.
The vibes were the vibes. Anyways, so we get to her grandparents' house. They lived on a farm, and she pretty much grew up there. And as she was taking me down this like really long dirt road, eventually it turns to the point of gravel. And once it hit gravel, I just could not breathe. Like I was like gasping for air. She was freaking out. I was freaking out. And Mory's spraying her aura spray right now.
Wait, is that because it prevents like bad juju from coming in?
Yes, it's called Sacred Space Spray, and it's supposed to protect your space from bad energy. And Anais is bringing it right now. Okay, but I got scared. Fine, we're at the gravel point. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so like once the road shifts, I start like just feeling like I can't breathe at all. I'm gasping for air. Dawn's freaking out. I'm freaking out. She's still driving forward. I was like, is there water here? Is there like some sort of body of water by us? And she's like, I don't know.
Why?
Exactly. So I was like,
because you feel like what? Like you're drowning? What do you mean when you say you feel like you can't breathe?
I felt like somebody was pulling my necklace from the back and like choking me out. But immediately, that was a sensation in my body. But immediately, that like experience I was having was a girl drowning.
I'd be like hightailing it out of there. You were
I was like, turn around. So she just literally reversed because, we all freaked out. And as she reversed, the minute we got back to the dirt part of the road, it stopped. And I could breathe again. I was like trying to catch my breath at that point. And she was like, what just happened? And I was like, I don't know, Dawn, there has to be water around here. Like, do you see anything? We couldn't see anything. She was like freaked out. I was freaked out. I was like, we have to go ask your mom, who grew up on the farm as well. Like, what happened there? We get back to her parents' house. Her mom was sitting in the kitchen just waiting for us. And I was like, is there a body of water there? And she was like, oh yeah, there was this like well / little lake thing right by it. And I was like, did somebody die there? And she was like, oh yeah, I think so. I think there was a little girl that drowned there.
She said little girl?
Yes.
Wait, I have so many questions. Why the gravel?
I have no idea. I think it was the point where the body of water was, but I'm not really
like it was covered over by gravel, by like land and gravel. And
it was like 20 feet down into the grass area.
Can you explain for us harder to believers?
Cynics. That's
whatever.
What I said. Yeah.
But I'm not the most cynical person, and I'd like you to take that back now.
I apologize. You're a slightly cynical person.
Yeah, slightly.
Okay.
Even not as much anymore. I try to be much more positive than I once was.
Just ask the question for all the cynics out there.
I'm sorry. Why do you think you felt that? Like, was she coming to you? Was it just a vibe in the air? Is it that you're more perceptive? What all
All
of
of
the
the
above?
above. I think like my whole life is a ghost story, so I am more apt to like picking up things in general, energy wise.
Right?
And I don't know, because I didn't stay there and was like, hey, what do you want to tell me? Like, what are we trying to talk
Oh,
about here? I was just like, let's get out of here, because I was terrified. Like, Dawn was terrified. We were both freaking out. Like, I don't know if she just wanted us to know she existed and was there, or she didn't like brown people. Like, I'm not sure.
Uh, well, listen, lots of mediums, which I put you in that category. I don't know if you like it or not,
Mhm.
will say that they get signals in different ways. And it sounds like to me, one of your signals is that you can feel like physical feelings related to the entity that's near you.
Sometimes, not anymore. You and I have since learned lots of ways to protect ourselves and
Boundaries.
boundaries in general. And yeah, not really a common day experience anymore.
So wait,
thank
did that
God.
freak you out for a while afterwards? Like, how do you shake that off? Yikes.
I think when I found out that there was a death on the property in the way that I felt better in a way. Like it just
You went
validated the
crazy.
experience and I could let go of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think because Dawn's also not, she's not a cynic per se, but she is very logical. And for her to freak out and for me to freak out at the same time was a little much for me. And to literally feel like my necklace was like choking me out was a lot. But the validation really helped the whole experience. And then I
Whoa.
went to sleep fine.
Oh, not so spooky.
Okay, well, that's creepy.
Yeah, what's yours?
Okay, mine, this is my favorite ghost story, and I tell it a lot. So for friends who are listening, just fast forward 3 minutes. So we've had Rhea on the podcast. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, Rhea is a channel, a psychic, a medium. And she talked to us during that episode about how she picks up on different energies, some of those being spirits. And during the time that I lived in Maryland, this is about, I want to say, 9 years ago. Um, the kids and I, after my divorce, moved into this really cute blue cottage style house
Oh, that's a
in the
cute house.
Kentlands, which is where we lived for a long time. And this blue cottage house sat behind the main kind of attraction of the Kentlands, which is called the Kentlands Mansion. And this mansion really was a manor house for the Kent family in the 1800s. And so our house sat behind right next to a barn that they had really cutely repurposed into the arts barn where people would go take art classes and stuff like that. But that was the original barn for the manor house in the 1800s. And our house was right next to it. And we had lived in that house, me and the two kids and our au pair, really happy, like good memories of the kids being really little and having a great time there. But my daughter, Raina, at this time was like 6 or 7 years old, could never, ever sleep in her room by herself. And this girl is fierce. I mean, she's
Yeah.
really fearless. So
Yeah.
every night she started to come over to the bed, come into my room and be like, Mommy, I can't sleep and I'm scared. And I'd have to walk her back and rub her back and wait. She'd make me wait, or the au pair, Michelle, would wait until Raina fell asleep and then leave the room. And this was happening night after night after night. And I happened to be doing a reading with Rhea one day and I mentioned this to her. And she's like, well, if you want, I can come look around and see what I sense in the house. So I'm like, great. So we fast forward to a weekend where the kids go to stay at my mom's house so that they're not home. And I'm home and Rhea comes over and I'm definitely like freaked out because I'm like, what is Rhea going to tell me she's sensing in the house? So Rhea goes, walks around the house, goes upstairs. I sit in the living room, like with a blanket and a cup of tea and like just, trying to stay cozy and safe. She comes back downstairs and she's like, okay, very in her calm Rhea tone is like, so in Raina's room, there is the spirit of a little girl. And
Ooh.
she used to live in the barn next door. Her family lived in the barn. They were the like groundskeepers of the manor. And she passed when she was really little. And she's really excited that there's a little girl here to play with her.
Ooh.
And so she hides in Raina's toys. And Raina had this like wall of toys, like stuffed animals and stuff. She hides in there. And at nighttime, she comes and stands at the foot of her bed and wants to play. She doesn't mean any harm.
I'm
But
so creeped out right now. Little girl ghosts are like the creepiest of all the
the
ghosts. I
But
don't know
that's
why.
creepiest.
so
Why?
cute. What do
Oof.
you mean?
It's terrifying. So she's like, she wants to play with her, and Raina can sense, that's what's scaring her. So I went ahead, this is Rhea saying, I went ahead and I cleared her energy out by just really like sending her into the light, and she's out of the room. I've cleared it out. But I just want to warn you, when Raina comes back home, she's going to feel like something's missing from her room. And she's most likely going to blame her little brother for taking something from her room, but she's not going to be able to tell you what it is because there's actually now energy missing from her room. So I'm like, okay, so Rhea leaves. I'm home alone that night. I, as have told you by my cringy moments, can't sleep when I'm scared. So I FaceTime TJ, who at that time we were long distance, is in San Francisco. And he stays on FaceTime with me until I fall asleep because I'm so scared. Wake up the next day, go pick up the kids from my mom's, come home, super like, watching Raina's every move to be like, okay, this is the validation. And I swear to you, clearly, I did not say anything to my 7-year-old daughter about what had happened. I'm watching her and, she goes in her room, doesn't say anything. Couple date times in the afternoon, goes in her room, still doesn't say anything. I'm like, okay, that was all make believe. It's not real. Of course, we all have this inner cynic who wants to believe it's not real. So I brush it aside. I'm like, okay, whatever. Here we go again. She's not gonna be able to sleep tonight. Bedtime comes. We go to put Raina to bed. I read her a story and I leave. And about 10 minutes later, she calls from her room, Mom, all pissed off. I'm like, okay. So I go in her room. What's up? She's like, my toy is missing. And I'm like, what toy? She's like, I don't know. Keon always comes in here and he took it. And I know he took it. And I'm like, Raina, what's missing? And she's like, I don't know, Mom. I know he took something. Let's go search his room. Now he's like 4 years old, sleeping in his little bed. And we're like looking around his room for this toy that's missing that she can't name what it is. Can't find it.
This story.
She's super frustrated. She's like, I just know he did. And when I tell you, like the hair on the back of my neck is standing up at this point because I'm like, what in the hell is happening? Talk her down, Raina. I think it's just, I'm sure there's nothing missing if you can't think of what it is. Put her to bed, leave before she falls asleep. This girl sleeps in her bed that night and every single night after that.
What?
Never wakes me up again.
What? Wait, can I ask a question again?
Of course.
Why do some of the spirits hang around and some of the spirits don't hang around? Like, how come everyone who's died in that area isn't hanging out in your house?
That's such a good question. What I've learned from mediums I've spoken to is that there is a part of their energy that just remains stuck in the life that they had right when they died, because there's that part of their energy doesn't realize it's over. It's just like replaying it over and over. It's like a hologram. It's just that aspect of their energy is just stuck in that hologram.
I also feel like something you and I learned recently from one of your favorite podcasts. I totally forget the name.
And that's why we drink.
And that's why we drink.
I love that podcast.
Is that like energy can get stuck in places. So this idea of like ghosts isn't really the thing. It's like not necessarily like an entity standing there, but it's like the energy of that entity kind of like taking over and like not being cleared out.
Yeah.
But people see physical representations like actual human ghosts with physical features.
Yeah. I mean, I think that not all people can see either. I mean, I think that I don't know if it has to do with your gifts or your ability to perceive. And, we only use 10% of our brains. So are there other parts of other people's brains that are lit up? I don't know. But I do know that there was a ghost girl in our house and then there wasn't one.
I'm into it.
You believe it, right? I mean, what better validation is there than your own kid showing up and saying the exact same thing that,
I believe it.
So on with the show, we are going to now tell each other I'm actually going to terrify Bean because she doesn't have a story. She's going to be our audience this week. Anais has a real life haunting story that she's going to share. And then I have a real life haunting story that is pretty famous that I'm going to dissect for you all because I'm pretty sure, even though you probably heard of this, you don't know all the details.
Okay, I have to be honest. I have two stories. And
oh, no.
It's because what I wanted to do was bring you a story from my beautiful state of Vermont.
Oh, good one.
And I knew the exact story I wanted to share. I went to the place this past weekend. I took photos, video for you all.
Yes.
And then I came back to like do more research on the story, and it's going to take me like 2 seconds to tell you the whole thing.
I don't believe it. You've already shared so much insight with your photography and videography.
All right. Well, my first question for you is, when you think of Vermont, what do you think of outside of me?
Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, I think of maple syrup.
Oh, good one.
Okay.
Really good.
Neither of you said covered bridges, but that's totally fine.
Nope.
Covered bridges, classic Vermontness.
Oh, there's a lot of covered bridges here. Sorry.
It's like a New England thing, and whatever Pennsylvania is.
We're just our own thing.
They're mid-Atlantic, right?
We're our own vibe.
Yeah, you just are there. Anyways, so funny enough, Condé Nast put this on its top 32 most haunted places in America list.
Ooh.
And I have to tell you, I'm not sure it's supposed to be there.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oof.
So I'm going to share about Emily's Bridge, and more formally Goldbrook Bridge in Stowe,
I just have
Vermont.
to say something to you. The name freaked me out. Emily's Bridge gave me goosebumps. Okay, 100%. I don't like it already.
Do you have a thing against Emily's?
No, my best friend in middle school was Emily. I'm just really scared of the fact.
Emily.
Yeah, I don't like Emily's Bridge. Oy, I don't like it.
Oy.
Okay, well,
that's cultural appropriation. Being, I'm a Jew and I take offense. Go.
Okay. We're gonna cut that out because that made you sound like an asshole.
Okay, so the story and the legend goes back to the 1940s, and there's a couple of different variations of who Emily was, but at the end of the day, we think she was a farmer's daughter in the early 1800s. So like 1849 is like the earliest reference of her being around. And in one aspect of the story, she was deserted by the man she loved on their wedding day.
Oh, I thought she was like a little girl.
This always happens in ghost stories.
What?
Where the damn woman gets deserted, and then, well, I don't want to ruin your story.
And then she's so sad she kills herself, and exactly. Like
don't. There's always like a man, girl.
There's the gray lady, the lady in white. Like there's a lady in white in every hotel ever.
Really?
Yeah.
So true.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I just don't think Emily would have hung herself from a bridge for a man.
What?
But we'll get there in just a
You just
sec.
gave the spoiler alert.
Spoiler. The second part of the story is that her family didn't approve of this relationship, so she ran off to elope with him, and he didn't show up.
Jerk.
But then there's like a more like from the 70s, like more recent version of the story, which was like she was at this college function. She was riding on a horse. She ran off because she was embarrassed by something, and she got kicked off the horse and died on the bridge / brook. So there's 3 different variations of this story, but either way, what they say happens is on like around midnight and like those dark full moon type nights. She haunts the bridge, and she'll claw at your car and she'll scratch the backs of pedestrians, which like is a love language for me. So I'm not really sure the fear of that, but
okay. I want something invisible to scratch your back, and then you tell me if that's a love language.
I like it.
It depends on where they get. Exactly. Agreed. Hit the spot.
Higher, a little higher. Yeah.
God, I hope this happens to you tonight.
Me too.
Well, okay, I've been there twice now. Both times I didn't feel anything. I didn't experience anything. But like most stories say that Emily focuses on men, and she just really doesn't like men.
I get it, girl. I'm just kidding. I get it, Emily. Same's, girl. Totally
so
kidding.
That's Emily's story. Again, like at the end of the day, most like stories about her in the Vermont lore area, like basically says they think this is made up.
Oh no.
What kind of ghost story is this? No,
exactly.
Haunting. It's made up. Honestly,
you did not scare us.
Throw it out the window.
Get out.
You did not scare us.
Seriously.
Because now I have the real scary story.
So no, it's good. I'm good. Well, I'll stay with Emily's Bridge.
Yeah, whatever. You just mocked Emily, which who knows what that means next time you're in Stowe, Vermont.
You're going to get your back tickled. It's going to feel real good.
She's spraying again for those of you just listening. But feel free to watch us on YouTube, our new YouTube channel. Okay, so my question for this story is, have you ever done a haunted house, haunted hayride, haunted forest type experience?
Absolutely not.
You've never done one?
Nope.
Haven't you come with me up here where I live? The
Nope.
whole place is haunted.
Nope.
Oh,
Won't do it.
I do them constantly.
You do?
Yeah, where I live is so many farms. So there's tons of haunted hayrides and things since I was little, and houses, everything. There's an Eastern State Penitentiary not too far from me, which is supposed to be spooky. There's like tons of, and there's a lot of history where I live. So there's ghost tours around here, and there's tons of stuff.
Nope.
Spooky. Yep.
Okay, so Melissa, I'm talking to you then.
Yeah.
What is the biggest fear about doing something like that? A haunted house, haunted forest? Like, what is the actual real fear a human could have there?
Like a human or me?
You. Let's say you.
I don't know. It's just spooky. It's dark. I don't know. It's not, it's like almost silly, but it's not. Because I'm a little cynical when it comes to, I'm a little skeptical. I don't want to say cynical. I'm skeptical when it comes to this. Okay. So the whole idea of it is spooky, and everyone around you is so scared, which makes you so scared. And, you know.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pretend you said the right answer.
Okay.
Which is that there's going to be some psychopath in the forest, in the hayride, like not an actor, that jumps out and scares you and kills you.
Oh, Stop it.
I don't
New fear unlocked.
I don't have that fear. Who has? Is that a thing?
Well, now you have it.
Yes. You're just in a forest, running through the forest. Why wouldn't a psychopath more so just jump out and kill you?
Because they have better things to do than hang out in the woods at haunted hayrides. They have like real psycho stuff to do.
It's free murders.
It's free murders no matter where you do it.
Okay, yes. Let's not debate the psychopath thinking here.
Free murder is free murder.
Well, that's my biggest fear in going through those is, yes, the whole thing is scary, so I will never do another one. But what if there's a psychopath sitting in the woods waiting to kill me and utilize that time? And that's why I want to introduce you to Russ McKamey.
Oh, no, he did it?
And the McKamey Manor.
Oh, no, Russ.
It actually is worse than that. So, okay, it's not. There hasn't been real murder yet that I know of. But Russ started out with this haunted house that he had in his home. He had actors. It was this whole thing. You could tell this guy just loved all things spooky. Eventually, that wasn't enough for him. So he needed another level. It got scarier. He fired actors, hired really specific, like horror-oriented and like excited people. Yeah. Made this like big experience house. That wasn't enough for him. So then...
the taste of blood.
Exactly. Russ needed that.
Yeah, I get it.
Which is why he created the McKamey Manor, which is a 6 to 10 hour immersive horror experience.
Oh my God. I'm making Bean note of it.
Where is this?
So it started in San Diego. It got kicked out of San Diego because people did not want it there.
Good.
And now it's in, its home base is like Summertown, Tennessee, but there's a version in Nashville, in Huntsville, Alabama.
Bean, we just missed it.
I'm just really happy it's out of my state of California. Get out.
Okay, so he did all this marketing around, if you get through it, you get $20,000.
Oh, shit. I'm in.
Okay, no one's done it so far. And
me.
Why? Because it's the scariest thing in the whole entire world. But also, it's like, it's living a horror movie designed completely to your own fears.
How do they know what your fears are?
So there's a process to get into this place. He has a supposed 20,000+ person wait list. And what you do is you go onto his website and you fill out the form, or you send him a message on one of his Instagram pages or social media pages, and you tell him you're in. The requirements to even get to that point and to get to the front door is that you pass his little process of interviewing beforehand. So he's going to reach out to you. He's going to FaceTime you or do some sort of screening. You have to be 21 or 18 with a parent note. You have to be able to get through this like boot camp sports physical thing and have a doctor's note.
That's where you lost me.
Bean is immediately out at that point.
I kept going. I'm like, keep going, keep going. Oh, sports, I'm done.
Yeah. It doesn't sound that hard, but I don't know. You have to have a background check. You have to have medical insurance. And you have to sign a 40-page waiver.
What does the waiver say?
The waiver basically says that you're signing your life away. It includes death, aneurysms, teeth removal, broken bones, injuries of all sorts.
Wow. Teeth removal? I'd be fucking pissed if I went to some haunted house and they started removing my teeth, right?
And you came out without your front tooth.
And I like did sports to get in, and then I came out with no teeth. I'd be so mad.
Okay, well, the good news is there's been all the reports on any teeth removal. Russ says himself that they have pulled their own teeth. So he tells you have to pull your teeth.
We don't trust Russ.
Yeah, no thank you, Dr. Russ.
Liar.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you at the end of this story is your thoughts on Russ. So keep all of this in mind.
Oh, I am.
But basically, so last night I was finishing my story with Emily, and then I put on the TV, and there was this documentary on Hulu about them. And in this documentary, they're telling the story of these 3 folks who went through it and now are like super traumatically
traumatized,
harmed from the whole thing. Yeah.
Ooh,
physically harmed, mentally harmed, like emotionally harmed. It's all over the board. And these 3 people, it's like their names are Gabby, Brandon, and Melissa, I think.
Melissa.
Was it you? Yeah, Melissa, Gabby, Brandon. They all sort of state the reason they want to even go through this process, sign the 40-page waiver, is that they have like this itch inside them that needs to be scratched with adrenaline and like feeling like they can face the scariest thing. All 3 of them have experienced really traumatic things in their lives. One of them kind of grew up in an abusive home and went into foster care. Another one grew up in a really religious household and was queer or is queer and like had obviously a really traumatic experience with that. The last one did 3 tours in Iraq and came home and just feels like he deserves to be punished is what he says.
Oh, buddy.
So they brought on this like professor and this doctor to talk about like why people go through these experiences. And they're like, some people just need that adrenaline rush. It obviously comes with traumatic experiences, but they said that it's almost like rock climbing without your like tethers and stuff, or like doing those ultra marathons, or people that do deep dive swimming and like go swim with sharks without cages and stuff. Like it's like a similar experience just in this horror aspect.
I'm into it.
And you didn't say trigger warning before you said sharks.
Sorry, trigger warning.
For you, for Bean. Trigger warning for Mory.
So keep in mind, all of these people are vulnerable. They're vulnerable folks who are going into these experiences by choice and by desire. And basically, Russ gets to know your fears. He asks you what you're scared of. He then has you come and meet him at a like local park, and you're sitting there waiting for him. When he shows up, you get the 40-page waiver. Once you sign it, he takes you to the boot camp. I don't know where the boot camp happens. There's lots of thoughts on boot camps. It either happens before that or right at the waiver point. I'm sure the waiver happens first. Anyways, you sign it, go to boot camp, make sure that you can pass the test, and then he takes you to this house, and you're blindfolded, and you start the experience. Some of the things that people have experienced.
Are you looking around your room right now, Bean?
I am literally like looking at the door. I'm looking behind me. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. You're blindfolded.
This is what some of the people said about their time in there. And this is kind of where I'm like, well, how can anyone win the 20K when it is so unique to each of you? Like, there's no like common denominator here in getting the stuff done. So someone said that they duct taped their head. He duct taped their head completely.
Like covering
to
their
a
eyes?
wall, or
just duct taped him all the way around.
Okay.
And then he
like
had to,
you
like,
can't
go
breathe.
Through?
What?
Oh.
I think
But you
maybe he
can't
like
breathe.
put a
Torture
little...
chamber.
This whole thing is torture. This is torture.
So you sign up to be tortured.
Wait, yes.
Is there going to be a ghost in this story?
No, this is just, I mean, I don't know. But he makes them eat gross stuff, which is like the least of our concerns. But people leave with like cuts, bruises, sprains. And the most serious injury that someone left with was a heart attack.
What?
That makes sense. I totally get that. I mean, that's scary as AF. Like, of course you're going to have a heart attack.
Right.
Well, what do they do when the cage is filling up with water? Like, that is one of my things, is drowning. It's one of my bugaboos. If it's filling up with water, you know it has to stop. He's not going to drown you.
You don't know he's not going to drown you because this guy is a sociopath who wants to test the limits. So you're going to get to the point of drowning.
I don't think so.
Okay, hold on a minute.
That's why
so people clearly call uncle on this at some point and they're like, get me the hell out, right? So is he crazy enough to keep it going, or once they say they're done, he'll let them out?
Both. You have to say you're done in a very specific way. If you just say I quit, he says there's no quitters. And like, you know, you're panicked and you're like, stop. He won't stop. There's no safe word.
So how do you get out of there?
He basically decides.
There's a great Portlandia episode where they do this skit where their safe word is cacao. It's Fred Armisen. Like, cacao. It's so good.
Yeah, no safe word. And basically he decides when you're done. Like he does like look for the signs of you being done, but his role, quote unquote, is to like push you to your limits, and you are probably going to give in before your actual limits. So he's going to tell you when you're done. And he records everything. So you can watch everyone's sessions on YouTube.
Oh,
what? Did you watch one?
I watched a bunch. I do not recommend watching them. They are not. Them. I just wouldn't. Like, it's so bad. He doesn't have all of them up there for sure, but like there's a good assortment and they're definitely edited so you don't see it all. And what you do see is pretty bad. But like at the end of this whole process, he makes you do an exit interview, and all of these people look like their worst day has ever, like the worst day of their lives is that
it moment. Is the worst day of their lives.
Yeah. And they all have like black eyes, cuts all over them, abrasions. Like they look completely
they knew what they were getting into though.
And a lot of them say they want to come back.
They want to come back? Because
no.
They already signed up knowing it, so they're obviously interested in the thrill of it all.
I'm out. This was not a story of a haunting. This was a story of a psychopath.
Yeah, what's scarier than that?
It's not a ghost story.
Hauntings are scarier.
Okay, well, just to like ease things up, Russ doesn't take money for these experiences.
Ooh.
So you can make a donation, but he asks for dog food instead.
Oh, I love that.
So that he can be a nonprofit. And on top of that, now works at Walmart. So
I also kind of love though that he's supporting animal rescue.
Are we kidding me right now? Russ is a hero?
Russ.
Absolutely not. I refuse for that to be the ending of this story. Are you saying that these haunted houses or whatever the hell houses of torture have been shut down and now he works at Walmart?
No,
they haven't been shut down.
He doesn't make money there, so he has to work money at Walmart.
So this is legal because they signed the 40-page waiver. What he's doing to people is legal.
This is legal, but a lawyer did say that there's a lot of gaps in there in terms of where you could sue for damages.
Honestly, I think he has haunted your nightmares now, so his job here is done with you, Bean.
And my job is done as well. Thank you.
Your job. Bravo, and welcome to the podcast.
What in the hell?
All right, Bean.
You know what's scary about this?
What?
I thought you were going to tell me a haunting story, and you told me a story of a psychopath instead, so I was not psychologically ready, which is what is so scary about this. And you know what? I don't appreciate it. You're never allowed back.
Wow.
At this point. All right. Well, I'm speechless, but I'm going to attempt to actually tell you a haunting story at this point. This is the story. Now tell me if you guys know what this is when I say this.
Okay.
Of the Stanley Hotel.
Yes.
What is it?
The Stanley, is that the, what's it called one? The, from that movie?
The Shining.
The Shining.
The Shining is the Stanley Hotel inspired the book by Stephen King, The Shining, that was then turned into the movie The Shining that starred Jack Nicholson, and really a lot of people say is what boosted his career. Anyway, this is not about that. This is about the actual hauntings that have taken place in the Stanley Hotel, which is in Estes Park, Colorado. So Estes Park, Colorado is a mountain town. It sits in Estes Valley, Colorado, and it was home to the Ute and sorry, I'm going to say it again. Estes Park sits in the Estes Valley in Colorado, and it was home to the Ute and Arapaho tribes prior to the 1900s when settlers showed up to build whatever they wanted to build. In the early 1900s, the story begins of the Stanley Hotel with its founder, Freeland Oscar Stanley, who is ill with tuberculosis and has been told that the best and only hope for him is to find the clean air of the mountains and try and hope that that air rehabilitates him. So Stanley and his wife go to Estes Valley for the healing. And there's lots of accounts for what happened and how it all happened. But long story short, he basically miraculously heals from tuberculosis and decides that this is a very healing place. And so what he's going to do is build a hotel that is magnificent enough that people want to leave the cosmopolitan East Coast for vacations and come to this mountain town for vacation. So he buys a hunting lodge in the early 1900s and he renovates it and he builds the Stanley Hotel alongside his wife, Flora. His vision was to make this super opulent and to make it really glamorous right in the heart of this rustic town in Colorado. The hotel opens in 1909 and guests come from all over the country and they marvel at the palatial structure. It's surrounded by wilderness, but it has all of the modern luxuries of electricity and plumbing and telephones and staff that wait on you. So it really is a big experience for people in the early 1900s to be able to have this in the mountains. So this goes on this way for decades. The hotel is really this glamorous destination. But after decades, it starts to sort of fall into disrepair as there is not enough money to invest in it over time. And the founder passes away. By the 1970s, the hotel is in total disrepair. It's not making a lot of money and it isn't as popular of a destination.
But wait,
this hotel,
why did they market it as like magical air?
well, it's just that the mountain town has this fresh air that has healed him.
Yeah, so market that. This is a magical hotel. Come visit.
But they did that from 1909 to 1970. You know how marketing gets old after a while. I mean, it succeeded for 60 years.
Okay.
It's pretty good. So in the 70s, this thing is in disrepair and it could have been demolished had it not been for the bizarre story of a now very famous author. So in 1970, Stephen King happens to be in Boulder, Colorado, working on another book, The Stand. And they want to, he and his wife, get a weekend away to rejuvenate. So they go from Boulder, Colorado to Estes Park and they check into the Stanley Hotel. And he actually says on The View, he's interviewed about this, and he says it was their last day of the season. And as we were walking in, everyone was walking out. Everyone's checking out. We say, we'll check in. They check in, they go to dinner, they go to drinks, and they check into room 217. Spooky. In room 217, which is a famous room in the Stanley Hotel now, Stephen King basically says that he has this dream. It's a lucid dream. So it feels like, you know, that we can't tell if you're awake or asleep. He has this dream of his 3-year-old son running through the corridors of the hotel, looking over his shoulder, eyes wide, screaming as he's being chased by a fire hose. He wakes up out of this dream with this, like, you know, terrifying jerk. He gets out of bed, he lights a cigarette, and he outlines the entire book, The Shining, from that dream.
No way.
Yes.
A fire hose?
A fire hose.
Some people are so brilliant.
Brilliant.
Right?
You guys are scared of a fire hose?
Hold on a minute. Just relax.
No, I'm scared of The Shining.
Yes. So if you've seen The Shining, it's a terrible movie and book. That a lot of the scenes take place in this really terrifying hotel where the corridors just go on and on and on. And there's those twin girl ghosts.
Little girls.
And it's terrifying. So he tells this story. Or he writes The Shining. The Shining becomes a film in the 80s, and it has a lot of terrifying elements to it. But here's the actual story of room 217. So in 1911, now we're rewinding back to the heyday, there was a huge storm that happened in Estes Park. And the head housekeeper of the hotel, Mrs. Wilson, was lighting lanterns. And she's lighting a lantern in room 217 when there's an explosion. The explosion blasted through the floor and the dining room. She survived, broke her ankles, but lived and worked at that hotel for another couple of decades.
Wait, what year is this? I'm sorry. Call back. What year is
1911.
Oh, the best year. Yeah.
That's the best year.
I don't know.
Was that your past life self?
Uh,
So
came out.
when she passes, though, now remember, what's her trauma in her life? A fire.
Broken ankles.
And firefighters.
I was thinking like how much that must hurt to break both your ankles.
Yeah.
Ouch.
A fire and firefighters.
Got
and what do firefighters have? A fire hose.
Fire hoses.
So she lives out her days. She continues to take care of the Stanley Hotel. She passes away. But after she passes, people who stay in room 217 start to tell all of these stories of these paranormal experiences they're having. Like some guests report having items removed out of their room. Their luggage, they'll go out for a day, they'll come back, their luggage is completely packed. The lights turning on and off. There was a unmarried couple that was sleeping in the same bed, and they say that they could feel a force in between them trying to push them apart in the room.
Ooh, why
and
is she all up in their business? Like, why can't
she
just
was?
let them
They
be
say
there?
she isn't a fan of unmarried guests because she's very conservative, so she didn't like it. And they often say that they will wake up, these unmarried guests, and have their luggage packed and waiting by the door.
That's
and they
so
have not
kind of
packed
her,
their
though.
luggage.
I would honestly, I hate packing. I would be like, thanks.
Thanks, Mrs. Wilson.
Love it.
So actually in room 217 is also where another famous person stayed. When Jim Carrey was filming Dumb and Dumber, he stayed at the Stanley Hotel in room 217.
Intentionally?
Yeah.
Intentionally.
I
And
bet.
according to him, he got so spooked from what was going on while he was trying to sleep that he ran from the room half naked in the middle of the night. And the film crew is there to also say that this genuinely happened.
I want to go.
Right? It's terrifying. Okay, so that's just one room. That's just room 217. The entire hotel is said to be haunted in different areas. Another area of the hotel that people often report seeing things in is called the vortex. This is the staircase. It's really stunning. And it's this, I'm actually going to send you guys a picture. I'm going to put it in the chat. Go ahead, take a look. So the vortex is this staircase, and that is where they say it's a tornado of spiritual energy. So they are calling it a paranormal portal for all ghosts that come in and out of the hotel. Now, the link I just sent you are images that people who have actually gone to the hotel have captured. What do you see in that first picture at the top of the staircase?
Is it a nun?
Looks like a guy with a gas mask on.
Looks like a nun.
Does it look like a real life person?
Yeah, like a nun.
Yeah. So there was nobody on the staircase when that person took that picture, and that was in 2022. But when he looked at the image, there's an image of a person standing at the top of the staircase, which you're now looking at. If you scroll down, there's also pictures taken by other people. There's one of a picture taken of a window. Do you see that picture?
With a girl standing in front of it.
There's a girl in the window, but the person who took the picture said there was nothing before they took the picture.
Oh my God.
So there are a lot of different sightings of paranormal activity, and they believe the vortex is that staircase. Another haunted part of the hotel is the concert hall. This was built by F.O. Stanley, the original founder, and his wife, Flora. The stage has a trap door, which is used for theatrical entrances and exits. And so basically, the thing about the concert hall that's interesting is the concert hall had a keeper of the hall called Paul, who in the early 1900s kind of made sure that the concert hall was in good standing. But there used to be an 11 p.m. curfew in the early days around what was happening in the concert hall. People now claim that once it is 11 o'clock, if they're anywhere near the concert hall, they will hear a loud shout, "Get out," after 11 p.m. if they're in the concert hall. Now, if 217 wasn't bad enough, there is also another floor. The fourth floor is said to be the most haunted floor of the hotel, with hundreds of guests giving various testimonials of what's happened when they've stayed there. They say they hear children running and giggling and playing in the hallways.
So creepy.
But when they're checking out, there's no one with children that will have stayed in the hotel that night, but they hear a lot of giggling and running in the fourth floor. The closet doors open and shut on their own. They also say that the reason that you're hearing children is that in the 1900s, when this was a hotel, it was just an attic, actually. And children of the female employees would stay there with the nannies while the female employees were working.
That's nice.
So that's the reason why you hear so many children. Room 428 is the most haunted room in the hotel. People say they hear sounds of footsteps and furniture moving above them, except that there's no floor above the fourth floor. The fourth floor is the highest floor.
I hate this.
There is also various stories of couples staying in the room that say that they wake up in the middle of the night to see a cowboy standing over their bed.
Super hot.
And multiple people have said that a cowboy appears over their bed or near their bed.
Wow.
And they have said that repeatedly. Other things that I'll just tell you quickly about the hotel. There were underground caves beneath the hotel. This was so that staff could move around, particularly cooks and pastry chefs that were able to move things from like refrigeration to the kitchen. And so you can actually take a tour of the caves, but the caves are also said to be areas where you can see a lot of apparitions, particularly one of a pastry chef who's running back and forth down these hallways or in these caves. People also see a gray cat stalking about with bright green glowing eyes. And that it leads to a pet cemetery. There's actually a pet cemetery on the grounds where they see apparitions of pets. So
why do you think this hotel in particular keeps all of its spirits in there? Like, why do certain areas have more spirits and some areas have none?
That's a good question. Well, some of the things that I read about are about this vortex, believing that this like sits in an energy vortex naturally where the spirit world can come in and out. And so the hotel itself sits on a ground that is a vortex. We talked about that, I think, last week when I was talking about like an energy vortex in Sedona. So that's one theory. There's also just theories of the various going-ons in this hotel have kept these spirits attached to the hotel, like the children running back and forth, the pastry chef. People will also see Stanley's wife, Flora, standing in windows, looking out at the grounds, which may be the picture that I just sent you guys. But that is the story of the
wait,
Stanley
can I ask a
Hotel.
question? Because did Stephen King wake up, write this book, and not experience any of those things? Because a lot of those things happen in the movie.
He didn't experience any of those things. His only experience is the dream of the fire hose. He did not know about 1911 Mrs. Wilson and the fire and the fire hose when he had the dream, though.
So what are the chances people are just remembering the movie or like trying to experience the movie?
Agreed.
A lot of these stories are from before when the movie came out.
Spook. Let's all go. Field trip.
I'm good.
No hecking way.
I'll stay here with Emily.
All right. Well,
guys,
you guys, that is the end.
Yeah. I was only half spooked today. I'm not going to lie. I found last week's to be very spooky. Your story last week. I'm only half spooked this week. Yeah.
But are you
last week was Unsolved Mysteries.
No, I'm not that spooked by Russ. I'm sorry. He sounds a little weird. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that was a story of a psychopath.
He's a real life ghost, everyone.
But this was a ghost. We were talking ghosts. I was going to dress up like a ghost, but my sheet didn't arrive in time.
Okay, but you didn't even tell a story, so.
You couldn't just cut 2 holes out of a sheet?
I only have nice sheets. I was like, I'm not wasting these nice sheets. Yeah,
sorry, fancy sheets. Fancy Nancy.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I had a really good time spooky seasoning it up with you. I just feel like I'm going to miss this, and we're going to have to find a way to bring some of these tales into the rest of the podcast. Anais, thank you for joining us today with your crazy stories. And we wish everyone a happy Halloween, you guys. Go have a safe, happy, fun Halloween. Get into it.
Get after it.
Get after it. All right. Love you both.
Love you. Spooky.
Bye.